How do you get optimal growth from your meat rabbits? How do you fatten them up quickly so that they're ready for the freezer sooner? Today we're going to have a look. G'day there, I'm Dana from Pewakaka Valley Homestead. Today we're going to talk about how to improve your meat rabbits and how to get them ready for the freezer quicker. The very first thing you'll want to be doing to get your rabbits ready for the freezer as fast as possible is to make sure that you are starting with really good quality stock. When we first started with meat rabbits, we didn't really know what we were doing, what the difference was, and so we bought a Flemish Giant and a couple of Californian rabbits, and we had some success. And to be honest, that first cross between the Californian and the Flemish Giant, they did grow quite quickly. You had all that hybrid vigor, which meant they barely ever got unwell. We had really good success for them, and they did grow relatively quickly, but we never managed to hit, no, I lie, once we managed to hit that 5 pounds by 8 weeks, which is the gold standard for meat rabbits, that they should, live weight, they should be hitting 5 pounds by 8 weeks. Eventually we decided, and the reason we started with those rabbits was that was what we could get within a few hours drive. We did, if you know New Zealand at all, we're down near Dunedin, and we did drive all the way to Christchurch, which is about 5 hours drive. We went there and back in one day with the kids to pick up these rabbits. So we did drive quite some distance. There was just nothing nearby. So in the end we ended up getting some New Zealand whites. I don't know why they're called New Zealand whites. They were actually bred in America. But anyway, we got some New Zealand whites from way up in the North Island and paid to get them down. So those rabbits cost us a couple of $100 actually by the time we paid for the shipping to get them down here. But oh my goodness, they were life-changing. They grew so quickly. They had good-sized litters. The mums were a little grumpy, but they weren't too bad. And they quite consistently hit 2.5 kilos or 5 pounds at 8 weeks for us, and that for us was a real eye-opener, that how different stock can really make a difference to how much meat you're actually going to be getting out of the system. Now this doesn't mean that you need to be getting rabbits with pedigrees, or they don't even necessarily have to be purebred. What they need to be is from a line of rabbits that have been bred well for meat for some time. You know, you don't want bony rabbits. What you want is meaty rabbits. So you're looking for rabbits that when you put your hand over their eyes, they have a nice high arch. They're kind of a big ball shape. And when you're looking down on top of them, their hips and their shoulders are pretty much as wide as each other. These will be rabbits that have good, solid, meaty legs. When you're choosing your breeding rabbits, you'll be looking for rabbits that are looking healthy, clear eyes, clear nose, a good shape, and are outgoing, bouncing around the cage. Preferably they'll come up to you and say hi. It'd be nice if they were friendly, but even if they're not, that they're looking healthy, well and lively, that they're eating and drinking and doing all the things they should be doing. As for what age, ideally the rabbits would be around 6 months old. Generally speaking, somewhere between 5 and 6 months is about when they become mature enough to breed, and you'll want to be, especially if you're introducing cage rabbits into a colony, the younger you can start the better really, but they won't be ready to breed until around that 5 or 6 month mark. Generally speaking, the younger the rabbits have their first litter in a colony, the better the outcome will be. Often you'll hear that it's quite normal for a rabbit to lose her first litter, but actually, generally speaking, if you're breeding them younger and letting them do what they need to do in a colony, usually speaking, they will do quite well even with their very first litter. If a rabbit we usually do a 3-strike system. Their first litter, sure, whatever. The second litter, if they're not great with it. By the third litter, if they're not being good mothers, that's it. They're out of the breeding program. They're done. The second step to making sure that your rabbits are growing nice and quickly is to provide them with good quality housing. You don't want them getting too hot, you don't want them getting too cold, you don't want them getting damp, and you don't want them living in constant wind. Cold bunnies just simply don't grow well. We had quite a classic example of that. We had 2 sister rabbits have babies both on the same day. One of them had it in the proper nesting box where she should. The other one had it off in a slightly damp random corner leaning up against some tin. And with the rabbits, the babies, these were the Californians, and you could tell the ones The reason that Californian rabbits have the brown ears and the brown nose is that's because that's where the cooler area is on their body, so that's where the colour comes in. So with those babies, the ones over in the cooler area actually all had this grey tint to it. They were just cold all over, and they did not grow so well. Within 3 days there was a size difference between the 2 litters. In the end the rabbits did grow, but at the time, when it came time for processing, there was probably a pound difference between the ones that had started life in the cool corner and the ones that had started life in a nice warm nest. It really did make quite a significant difference. The third step to making sure that your rabbits are going to grow optimally is to make sure that you're feeding them quality food. They need 18 to 20% protein. Usually speaking, you'll get this from a pellet. However, things like lucerne, oats, alfalfa, lucerne, same thing, tree lucerne, peas, all of these things have really high protein. Barley fodder on day 6 is about a 20% protein product. So you're giving them plenty of these high protein foods that they're having constant access to, that they can eat whenever they like. You can top this up with some natural greens or some stuff out of the garden, but ultimately if you're trying to get optimal growth out of these rabbits, they'll solely be eating a high protein feed. Step 4 is to breed for size. Keep your biggest, fastest growing rabbits as your next breeders. You can line breed these. I recommend you research it. There's a way of line breeding that works really well, and there's a way of line breeding that doesn't work at all. And you just end up with inbred, terrible looking rabbits. So look into that. Breed for size. Are you wanting to breed for litter size as well? You'll be wanting to aim for rabbits that have 6 to 8 kits. The kits will grow a lot better than rabbits that have 14 kits, because mum's only got so much milk to go around, and so sometimes that slightly smaller litter size you actually get a lot better success. Often with a larger litter you only get 6 or 7 that survive anyway. So breeding the mums that breed that have 6 or 7 or 8 babies and gets them all the way to butcher weight really quickly is a lot better breeder than one that has 14 and has only 6 that survive. The other thing you'll want to do is to keep your rabbits healthy. Personally, we treat them about once every couple of months for coccidiosis. It's just something you put in the water. It's just a thiamine blocker. Thiamine? I think it's thiamine. It's a vitamin blocker that kills off the coccidiosis, so it can't thrive. So it's something that we just add routinely every now and again to their water, and it doesn't have a withholding period or anything because it's just a synthetic vitamin, basically, is all you're giving them. And the other thing is to let your rabbits run around. The meaty rabbits, meat is muscle, so the more that your rabbits are enjoying life, getting to run around, getting to stretch their legs, that's when they're going to be growing more muscle and going to be stronger bunnies, and this is where you're going to get the extra meat from. If you want to know more about our way of raising meat rabbits in a colony, I suggest you check out my book. I've put a link to it down below. That's where I have put all the knowledge that I have in my head. I've put it all on paper so that somebody else can read it and absorb it. It's really easy to read, and I recommend you give it a look. I hope you found this video useful. If you have, hit the like button. Consider subscribing to our channel. We bring you videos twice a week on growing and preserving your own food. We'll see you in the next one.